everybody. I'm here with David Fix from American Pinball.
Howdy.
David and I decided to take a moment away from TPF to talk to you about American Pinball. Their new offering this year is Barry Oursler's
Barry O's Barbecue Challenge.
Barbecue Challenge. I sat down and I played it. Dave came over after I played it and I told him I had a great time with it. I didn't expect to. I'd heard a lot of negative things about the game in general, that it was a re-theme of this or that, or it just wasn't exciting. But I got to tell you, I'm not easily impressed, but I had a great time on my first game. Learned a little bit about it. I still have a lot more to learn, but I had a lot of fun playing that.
That's what I wanted you to do, is have fun. That's what pinball's about, is having fun. And I'm glad you made your own decision on that.
More people need to do that.
I've always said that you gotta have, I want you to make your own decision. You can sit and listen to everybody else, armchair quarterbacks, and it's sad. Some people will say that I'm dead or the company's out of business, and they've been saying that for the last 5-6 years, and we're still here. So the ones they don't talk about are the ones that are having issues. So it's like, well, who do you want to listen to? Just make yourself. That's it, right? And I always said, listen. I even asked you, did you like it? Did you hate it?
I was honest.
If you hated it, I want to hear about it. I don't care. I want you to be, and you said, I liked it. And you know what? You are in the majority of the people here at TPF.
That's my understanding as well. I've got a lot of friends that are in IFPA and a lot more challenging than I. And, finally, Americans made a pinball that can be put into tournaments a lot easier than some of the more home-centric pins. And the shots are really... I love the ramp shots on that. Tell me a little bit about Barry's involvement. How did the cycle go?
So I'll give you a little history. I've known Barry for over 20 years. I was a fanboy. I've had Barry games. I owned a Pinbot, which was Barry. I owned a space shuttle. I own a space shuttle. I've owned 8 Pinbots. I bought one, and then I bought another one, and then I fixed it up and sold it, and I bought another one, gave it to my brother, and then I bought another one, and it was just like all of a sudden I was Pinbot heavy, and then I met Barry. That was, circa 2020, 22, somewhere in there, and then, Barry and he is a gentle giant. He just loved pinball. He was brought into the industry. He started out right out of high school at Williams, and Steve Kordak brought him in and moved him up, right? And he started just working on pinballs, and he always loved it. And we pay tribute to him in this game, really. So there's the first clue of the tribute. I'll give it out. If you notice on the back of the back glass, it says the Iron Phoenix, and Phoenix was Barry's very first game. So there's a lot of cool stuff hidden in this game. So you definitely have to take a look at it. Make your own decisions, So Barry was working at another pinball company down here in Texas, which kind of went, In fact, while he was working there, I called him about his mechanical engineer he had in Williams, Sophia Bill at the time. And I was trying to find her because I wanted her to come to America. And I called him up here in Texas, and he says, David, I'll make a few phone calls for you. And within 30 minutes, she was on my phone. And she's like, I live in Chicago. I live, 20 minutes from Palatine, where our factory is. And she goes, she had a couple questions, and she came in on Monday morning for an interview, and we hired her within a couple days. And she's now our lead mechanical engineer,
Wow.
She had worked from WMS back when she got into mechanical drawing with pencil and paper, and worked with Barry on games like she did the Miss Multi-Ball for Dracula.
Oh.
And a bunch of really cool games with Barry. And Barry was like, listen, she's good. And I'm like, I know she's good. So I hired her, but I said, Barry, when things go south, give me a call. Well, when things went south, it went bad pretty quick for him. We reached out, we brought him on, we signed the contracts. It was funny because we had him start, that would have been August, and we never made the announcement of Barry joining it until January.
Oh, wow.
So he was already working with us. He was working with Steve, he was working everything, and Barry wanted to give himself a little time before jumping into that pool. So we brought him in, and Barry was working hard, and he was and still was the fastest gun. Mark Ritchie will always tell you he's the fastest gun on the game design. Barry can lay out a game in 6 months, and that's what he did. And he already had started on another game for American, which was just really rough, and I don't think they'll ever see the light of day. But he had this whole theme brought together, integration. He started working with Steve. They hit us up with this theme, which was a little outdated. We came back to him with barbecue, which he loved. He was like, "Oh, this is absolutely."
He was big into barbecue.
He was big into barbecue, and the funny thing was, he's like, "You mean like the 20 barbecue restaurants around my house? There's more barbecue restaurants than there are McDonald's." And I'm like, "Absolutely." And he goes, "This is Americana." He goes. I watch barbecue cook-offs on television. I do this. It's huge. So we did some numbers for him, and we figured out that there's 3,872 individual mom and pop barbecue restaurants, not chains, just in the United States alone. A lot of them have claw machines, broken down pinballs, and just to think, okay, we could put a pinball in there.
A pinball machine in there.
And you know what the number one thing everybody talks about when they play the game? They're hungry. They're hungry after they're done playing. They're like, we got to go have some brisket. We got to go have some split chicken. We got to
Hard 8.
Hard 8, yeah.
Smoke.
And it was funny, last night, there were people who came back from Hard 8, played the game, and were like, we just came back, and I feel like I want to eat some more.
That's awesome.
So
that's a good thing.
It's a theme that's going to integrate. It's going to sell well. Listen, we're going to have you talk to Steve Bowden. I want you to, he's just down the room here. Sure. We'll have you come in and talk to him. But Steve's going to explain, the premise around the game. I was a huge space shuttle fan. And I had 2 space shuttles. And everybody ever plays space shuttle understands they walk up. And during that time in the industry, the factory was dark. Many people will say that Space Shuttle was the game that saved Williams. And it was because it was very approachable. It was a quick, easy multi-ball. It had good flow. It had good feel. And it was one of Barry's, games that a lot of people always shared. And so when we were sitting down with Barry and talking about it, when he said, well, what do you want me to do? You want me to do this, do that, and so forth? I said, Barry, why don't we do something that's kind of pays homage to Space Shuttle, but pays homage to a lot of your other games, too. And to you.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can do that. And that's when he came and gave it to us, we were like looking at it, we're just like blown away.
Wow. Blown away.
And so the sad part, don't mean to take your listeners down to a low point, but Barry handed in all the paperwork, the whole layout of the game, inserts, everything. And we were sitting there, and we got it. And I called them up, and I said, we got all the paperwork. We're going to start. We put it on a play field. And we started
whiteboard made. And
I said, listen, it's going to take us maybe about 6 weeks, right? First part of April, we'll start seeing it. And he's like, okay, I know you're going to be in Chicago next week. He says, let's call, and I'll make arrangements, and I'll fly out in 6 weeks in the first part of April, and I'll play the game. I said, okay. So that was on Friday. 2 days later, or actually they went through the weekend, and then on Tuesday morning, his wife called me, and I was like, oh man. So it was tough. We did a tribute to him there. We paid our respects, and we put out a nice press release, and then we sat down as a team and said, what are we going to do with this? And then Ryan McQuaid, who had just started working with us, came in, and he started playing around, and he said, well, I'll help. And Dennis said, I'll help. And we said, well, we'll finish the game for Barry. So we built the whitewood. In fact, Ryan took Barry's design and threw it into a simulator, VPX, and we were shooting it. And we were like, oh, this works, and that works. And we were like amazed how quick. So we started building up real fast. And then there was one little thing that was a little wrong, was a ball trap, a bad one, where Barry had the drop targets on one side, which, even Zofia said, Barry would have said, switch it, And that's what happened. Dennis basically took it, rotated it over, brought it over 2 lanes, and it became the space shuttle and sweep targets, and we were like, this is it. And we just kept putting it together. And then we had a little quick conversation about I never liked how space shuttle hit balls when you're in the box.
Down in the...
They just hit and they don't do nothing. And Ryan McQuaid was sitting there and said, well, why can't we create a way for the ball to roll back and relock itself? So that became bash locks. We called it a couple different things, but it didn't make sense, right? So we ended up with bash locks because it's a lock. You can bash it, and we give the player a feel back, and you can't steal multi-balls. And then Steve loved this idea because now we have physical locks you can't steal that are in the game. And he's like, listen, I can write rules for this. And right away, he's like, Barry wanted to get this for a tournament-style game. And Barry and Steve, from August of that year until he passed, were on a conversation and a communication at least 3 times a week. They were calling, they were emailing, they were sharing things back and forth, and Steve wrote down everything. And what he didn't write down, he was sitting down writing notes and spending days reflecting the first couple days, and he came back and said, this is what Barry wanted. And which helped us was we had Jack Hager, who's our art director, and Sophia. They all worked with him at WMS, including Dennis. So they knew what Barry's thinking.
Right back in the saddle.
Right. They knew what he would want, right? So the team was just able to say, okay, this is Barry, you know, and we pulled it together.
It feels Barry.
Very, very,
very Barry.
Very Barry.
Very Barry. Yeah.
Well, here's a great thing, and I brought this out in a seminar earlier yesterday. Here we are, 2024. We have Mark Ritchie, we have Steve Ritchie, and we have Barry Oursler. The three guys who were at Williams bringing out games. In fact, Steve shared with me when he became a game designer, Barry Oursler was promoted to be a game designer. So him and Steve, and then Mark rose up in the ranks together. Too. All 3 of these rose up in the ranks, and they were friends. So even Steve played it yesterday, and he was like, "Yep, this is a Barry game. It's got nice flow. Definitely Barry. Yeah, Barry's feel." So it's just kind of cool to see a game, and we were proud to because Barry worked many years on games, and unfortunately they'll never see the light of day. But this is his final game, and we made sure he got to see the light of day.
At least he got another one. And he didn't get to flip it, I understand, but
he didn't get to flip it. But you know what? In his mind, he already knew, and
how it would shoot.
Yeah, and he was like, this is a little of this, a little of that, and he says, this is going to be fun. He was really excited wanting to play it.
Very cool.
So, but as it was funny is that some people think, oh, it's a retheme. No, it isn't. It's 100% Barry. A little help from his friends, but truly paying homage to a great designer. And a gameplay is really good, and a lot of players have been enjoying it.
Flows nicely.
Yeah, very cool.
Really enjoying it.
So, but anyway, I'm glad that you were able to take a few minutes. Any other questions that you have about the game?
No, I just wanted to get to know you and your company a little bit. Show these guys what I thought of the game, and I really like it. I'm going to go spend some more time with it here at the show.
I'm glad you're going to spend some more time with it. Film it, show everybody the cool stuff. I love to see that. It's again paying homage to Barry.
Yeah. And
making it a fun game. And Barry he had a way of making the game fun. And a little challenging. And I'm sure when you talk to Steve, he's going to tell you a little bit more about how Barry's thinking was. Like, yeah, you can hit that ramp shot a couple times, but if you miss it, you're off a little bit. Oh, you're going to pay for it. So that's Barry and
Steve's
Steve.
Easy. Mark's the tough one. What do I ask Mark about Barry?
Mark Ritchie.
Yeah.
Well, you can ask him about what a prankster he was.
Okay.
Because I will tell you, Mark and Barry got themselves in
a lot of
trouble.
That sounds about right.
And Barry was the quiet, gentle giant that He was the kind of guy that
sneaky one.
He was the one that pulled off all the pranks, and everybody else got blamed for it because he wasn't the prankster. But in fact, we wanted to put it in the art. We didn't get it. It didn't make the revisions, but we were going to have him with a pack of firecrackers hanging out of his back pocket because he was known
Dennis the Menace.
Yeah, he was known to set off M80s and bottle rockets under people's doors, flying into their offices. I mean, this guy was a true character, but he was, again, a great game designer. So
appreciate you bringing what Barry had to offer and getting it through American Pinball. It's another way we can all enjoy.
Absolutely, and I've been enjoying just playing it and the reception. Like you said, you've been talking to some people here. It's been really positive here.
I've been walking behind while you're talking to other people, and I'm hearing it.
Go.
I'm hearing it.
Absolutely.
Thanks again.
You're welcome, buddy. Thank you.